Yesterday, David Seymour attempted to drive a Land Rover up Parliament steps. Why? It was part of a fundraising drive for Manaaki, Manawa, the Centre for Heart Research, to fund new heart valve devices for children. The Land Rover had been driven up the steps before, back in 1948. But this time round, security was not having a bar of it. They stopped the ACT Party leader, stating the Speaker had not given him permission. Seymour said he was not aware the Speaker had not given him permission, and later he defended his actions.
Bureaucracy is alive and well in New Zealand, but sometimes things are worth doing for a good cause.
You probably should have got Speaker's approval for that, David, do you think?
Oh, I thought we had it, to be honest. I'm surprised we weren't allowed to, but it turns out he explicitly said we couldn't.
Right,
there you go.
Okay.
There's always a bit of red tape trying to stop you do something for a good cause in this country, isn't there?
So it didn't go to plan, but David later pointed out it was for a great cause. And that cause is, and the owner of the Land Rover is research scientist Julian Paton, who was set out on an 1800 journey of New Zealand in the name of heart health. And the good professor joins me now. Julian, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Thank you very much for having me on the programme.
Well, look, lovely to talk to you. I mean, it didn't quite go to plan yesterday, did it? Was that you sitting next to David?
Yes, that's correct. I was sitting next to David, and the plan was actually not to drive up the steps, but we were given permission to drive to the steps.
Right.
And so that was the intention.
Right, and David just jumped in and got excited and put the foot down, I gather.
Well, you know, David, I think we all know Minister Seymour is a character, and I guess, you know, he couldn't resist. He as always, knew who we were and knew that we were raising money for rheumatic heart disease to build this new valve. But he also knew and done his homework that vehicle, very, very special vehicle for New Zealand, incidentally, the very first Land Rover that came into New Zealand in October 1948. And as a demonstrator vehicle, it was demonstrated to the people of New Zealand that it had this four-wheel drive ability. And one of the things it did was to drive up Parliament steps. And so with our journey from Dunedin to Auckland, I sought after my local MP, who is Brooke Van Wilden, and I just said to her, I've got an unusual request here, but would there be any chance to reenact that? And she said, oh, well, we better seek some approval for this. And I was told, yes, please come up onto Parliament, which was going to be one of the real highlights, because as you saw, there were a lot of media already there to park next to the steps and just kind of at least get close to the steps, where 77 years ago it drove up Parliament steps. So that's amazing. You know,
why it was there.
It was there, but also to remind the listeners that this is a serious, and it's been a long time planning, a very serious run for this vehicle. 77 years old, it's been under the cover for over 40 years. To bring it back and let people see this very original Land Rover, the first in New Zealand, but to raise money for heart disease. And it's becoming so difficult at the moment for us discovery scientists, I'm a biomedical scientist at the University of Auckland, to actually get money to do blue sky research. And we've got this fabulous opportunity right now in Auckland, probably only possible to do it in New Zealand, around the world, to build a valve that will actually grow as a young child's heart grows, and therefore prevent that child having these awfully invasive, repeated operations.
Julian, you're such a fantastic talker. You've probably answered all my questions before I even got to ask them, because you've just rolled straight through. I know you're passionate and it's fantastic. I'll jump in. I don't like to cut you off. I just wanted to, and we will get to obviously this fantastic, what you're talking about, we will get to the heart valves. I did just want to ask you one quickly about your Land Rover, and it is the oldest in New Zealand. How did you own it? She's a classic. How did you find it? And how long have you had it?
Well, so the first thing I would say is I'm the custodian. I am the next keeper of the vehicle. and it will be essential that this vehicle is well maintained and we continue to improve its original state and preserve it, because it's a very special vehicle for New Zealand. But what happened, and you won't really believe this, is it came up on Trade Me.
Stop it.
That's right. I mean, absolutely remarkable, right? Of course it did. So I was actually visiting my sister in Europe at the time, and I got a text from a very good friend in the UK. He knows I'm out here in New Zealand. And he said, Julian, get your wallet out. Get your wallet out. Number 20 has come up on the market. You need to go and buy it. Well, the opportunity to actually own such a precious vehicle is so original. It's absolute humming along at the moment. We're doing about 65 kilometers an hour. It is amazing. So I contacted the owner, Peter Marr. Peter is happy for me to mention his name. I've asked him about that. And Peter had owned it for 10 years, but prior to that, it was in a garage in Taihape, which is where we're on our way to this afternoon. We're going back to that original garage. It was there for 30 years. And it hadn't really done any traveling for almost 40 years, because Peter never really drove it very far. And so, I went down, and Peter said, very well preserved. Peter said to me, 2 conditions. Number 1, I want you to prove that you're an enthusiast. Well, I've been restoring these vehicles since I was 12, and I could prove that to Peter. And number 2, that it would stay in New Zealand. And I've made the pledge that it will stay in New Zealand, because we've got all the paperwork, the original certification of registration of the vehicle back to the 28th of October, 1948. So that's how I came across the vehicle.
Jeez.
And then, of course, I had to find some money.
Yes. Well, Julian, when you started in Dunedin, correct, and where are you expecting to end? Where's the journey end?
Well, the journey is ending in Auckland, because that's where I live. And I think by the time I get to Auckland, I might need to see a chiropractor.
Because you're being bounced. It's probably not the most comfortable car, Julian, to be in, or is it?
It's not bad, but what we've done, we've tried to keep off the motorways. So we have been over the Dunstan Road, the old gold mining road.
Yeah.
We've been up over Dancy's Pass. We've just recently come off the Molesworth. We were on there for 2 days. These are all roads, as you know, that are unsealed. And at this time of year, although the weather has been spectacular, there's a lot of dust. So that's why my voice is a little bit croaky. I've been breathing in a lot of dust, and we've been bouncing around like rubber balls in a jar. But we're still enthusiastic, and the car's still going, and so we're so happy with what it's been able to do so far.
And do you have a backup vehicle, Julian? I don't want to put a bad juju on it that it won't get you there. But is there a backup vehicle following, or someone that can save you?
So once we decided that we were going to do this run to raise money for charity, I thought, well, actually, it would be really cool if Jaguar Land Rover might be interested. And I put a case to them, and they were extremely interested. And God bless them, they have given us a companion vehicle which contains my lifetime collection of tools and my spares. And so, if the head gasket goes, we are prepared. If the carburetor goes wrong, we have another one. If the dynamo breaks down, we have another one. So we're well prepared for roadside repairs. We're determined to get to Auckland. I should also make a call out, because every town, many towns, but particularly the big cities, all the local Land Rover owners come out to see us. So at the moment, we're traveling in a convoy with 8 Land Rovers from Wellington to Palmerston North. We've stopped off at a beautiful home. We've been given lunch because the owner has a couple of old Land Rovers. So the people are just loving what we're doing. We've met incredible people who tell us, we think what you're doing is fantastic. And my dad had a Land Rover, and my dad also died of heart disease. And this kind of unifies what we're trying to do here. We're trying to bring people together to support us to build this new heart valve. And we've been quite overwhelmed. And at times you almost feel a little bit emotional, because people have been so kind and so interested. For example, in the middle of the Molesworth, we had a gentleman driving in the opposite direction, determined to find us. He flagged us down. He gets out of his car with a fistful of dollars, And he says, I want to give you this because, first of all, I love Land Rovers, and second of all, my great-grandson has had 5 operations for his heart. And that, it almost reduces you to tears. But this is the compassion and the energy that we've been receiving. And, overall, this is a fantastic good news story for New Zealand. We have so much awful news at the moment. This is a good news story, and we should be, I'm just hoping that people will support us. And if I can just do a quick call out, it's Drive 4 Hearts using the number 4, all one word, and you will find us online, and you can give online. And every dollar that you give us, is guaranteed to go to research. Okay,
Brilliant.
There's no cut from the university, and you can also claim tax back on it.